Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football RPG. I'm Mike. That is Evan. I'll figure this out eventually. But we are continuing our prospect deep dive series. Today we're talking about Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. He is listed at 6 foot 195. If you set the over at 190, are you taking the over or the under, Evan?
No, he is lighter than 190.
He's lighter than 190. I think he's shorter than 6 foot, but he can put 6 foot on Tinder. That's good for him. He's an early declare, but he will be 22 for his rookie season. And right now in the NFL draft, he is somewhere in the late first, early second on the consensus board, but the hype train is growing. Evan, do your spreadsheets think the hype train is real?
My spreadsheets think the hype train is out of control. We got a wide receiver that mainly played outside in college. You go back to his freshman season. I mean, he was almost exclusively outside, basically no snaps in the slot. You go to this past season with Texas, which this was not the Texas team of 2023. Definitely did not put on the same talent out at wide receiver, but we had 547 snaps out wide. We had 143 snaps in the slot. What does that tell you? Okay, it tells you he can play the slot and he has some repetition there. We have 58 targets for 41 receptions for 625 yards. Man, that production is pretty rough, especially when you look at historically, even when he was at Houston, which
last
time I checked, Houston is not a major powerhouse for football.
Whoa. No shade.
Okay. Production at Houston as well before he transferred over to Texas this past season. It really wasn't there either. So production standpoint, production nerds are going to say, well, he didn't have it then. Yards after the catch in 2024, we're talking 195 yards, which if you look at that, woof, that is not very many of his total yards. We got an ADOT of 12.7. We got a yards per route run of a putrid 1.67.
It's tough.
Oh, that is a tough one, Mike. Let's see. Yardage distribution based off of where he was targeted. We got 32 yards from behind the line of scrimmage. We have 118 from that short yardage area, looking at 0 to 9 yards. In that mid range, that 10 to 19, we got 227. And the deep yardage, we got 20. The 20 plus range, we have 248. All right, so pretty good distribution there when you start thinking about it and you start looking at what he was doing, how he was being used. You start looking at over 60% of his targets came in that short to medium range, which, Mike, you want to talk about how that fits at the next level?
Yeah, I will in a moment. First, probably should have clarified this on something earlier in the series. All of these stats are from the regular season. And I think where the hype train is coming for Golden, it was the college football playoff. We're talking about over 100 yards against Georgia, over 100 yards against Arizona State. Those are the games where you watch him and you go, this is an NFL wide receiver. Unfortunately, you watch the other 30 games and you're like, it's a fun wide receiver 3. Could be good. But those games against Georgia and against Arizona State, that's where we got to see the separation really take off. So if you like quick separators, you're going to love Golden. He can stretch the field if asked. I went back, I looked, he was an all-state track runner. I think he had a 10.2 100 meter, which is very fast for those of you that don't know. But if he's put in a role where he's asked to stretch the field often, it's not going to be great for our fantasy teams unless he catches one of those deep balls. His quickness in and out of routes is one of the best of the class. He can separate using just like a little bit of jitter, a little bit of juice. And that is something that's going to translate very well. I thought his slot package was actually underrated, and I don't know why Texas didn't employ him there more. I know they had Silas, who could not line up anywhere else. They had Bond, who enjoyed being in the slot. But if you throw Golden in the slot, like, he can separate off of press. He can take advantage if they don't press him using that long speed and that quickness as a package. Listen, the bull case for Matthew Golden is going to be the athletic traits and the skill set, which could transition to slot usage. But he's undersized. He wasn't asked to play in the slot that often while at Texas. Stole this comp from the rookie guide. Talked about it. How do you feel about it? Brandon Cooks.
I mean, Cooks had some usable fantasy seasons. I mean, if he has a Brandon Cooks style of career, you're not going to say that he was a bust, especially going in the second round if he falls to the second.
I'm sorry. We're saying he had a usable. We're talking about the same Brandon Cooks, right? The 6-time 1,000-yard
Yeah,
receiver.
a couple really good fantasy seasons, Mike.
He was usable. I was drafting Calvin Johnson, but you drafted Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, silly Mike over there.
I've seen Nate Burleson thrown around. I think that's a little lofty. I've seen some other, undersized. What was the Hall fella for they were the Commanders back in the day? You know who I'm talking about?
I got
Anyway,
nothing for you, Mike.
there was a very fast man with the last name of Hall. That's another fun comp. Bottom line, he's very quick. He's very fast. Let's talk a little bit about possible landing spots. I think he brings an element to the Washington Commanders they don't have right now. They could target him in the late first. Houston needs a replacement. Stephon Diggs is hurt. Tank Dell is hurt. Diggs isn't under contract. They weren't really excited about any of the options after Nico Collins there. And then a fun one, New England Patriots, who need every position, not just at wide receiver, every position but quarterback. With those landing spots in mind, how do you feel about his dynasty price?
I mean, his dynasty price currently, we're talking a guy that's in most mocks going that 201 to 204, which you're taking a gamble at that point. I know my personal take here, looking at the analytical profile and the stats that he's been able to put up, how he's been utilized. It's not a gamble that I'm willing to take. If he starts going in the first round of your rookie mocks, I mean, that's a giant blinking red flag. Stay the heck away from me. If you start having him slip into where Ricky Pearsall was going, that middle of second round as a late first round, yeah, I mean, you're going to take the swing. You're going to say he has the draft capital. He has the traits to be able to take a swing. So why would you not at that point?
Yep. I will say it was weird at first when we were like, why is he coming out? What's going on? Read the tea leaves a little bit. This is a true junior at a very good program with their quarterback not in question. It's either going to be Quinn Ewers or Archie Manning. Say what you will about Quinn. Well, no, sorry. Quinn declared. I'm way off my rocker right now. It's going to be Archie. Would you want to go play with a Manning or declare for the draft? Because he's declaring for the draft, I think he's going to go in the first round. That means he got some good news. First round, big production against superior competition in the playoff. God, I just wish the yards per route run weren't so gross the rest of his time. But anyway, if you made it this far and you didn't click off after I said Quinn Ewers could be the quarterback, because I'm a Texas fan, I should know better. But be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to link the rookie guide in the comments section so you can go check that out over at Football Guys. It's completely free. You can see hundreds of write-ups on every player that could ever be relevant for Dynasty Fantasy Football. So enjoy that. Enjoy Matthew Golden. Go watch the Georgia game. That's what you want to see. That game is all you need to see if you believe.
But don't just watch that game, because we're trying to get a nice round picture.
Right.
Go back to that 23 season when he was still at Houston and watch some of those games too.
Or just watch the Ohio State game from earlier in the playoff against NFL corners. It wasn't as great. Bye-bye. Evan, I love you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. If you made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to check out written content, head over to lastwordonsports.com.
Don't the goblins get you.